Welcome to the first video in my series on logical fallacies and cognitive biases. In this video, we'll be discussing the whataboutism. If there's another logical fallacy or cognitive bias that you would like me to cover, please comment below and make a suggestion and I'll be happy to cover it. And with that said, we'll go on to the show. Have you ever been arguing on Facebook or Twitter and seen someone try to wiggle out of being responsible for a claim they made by simply saying, "What about this other person who did something similar? Or aren't you talking about what they did?" This type of counter-argument is called a whataboutism. A whataboutism, however, is simply a special case in a mistaken reasoning called a tu quoque fallacy. If we want to understand what's wrong with a whataboutism, we first have to understand this other mistaken reasoning. A tu quoque is an appeal to hypocrisy. It is mistaken reasoning which occurs when one tries to refute an argument by pointing out that the person making it isn't acting as though the argument itself is true. Or they may also be simply guilty of committing the thing that they are arguing against. For example, if person A says smoking is unhealthy and should be avoided, and person B responds, "Well, you smoke." If person B in this case is implying that person A is wrong in their assertion that smoking is unhealthy, simply because they themselves smoke, they are committing a tu quoque fallacy. The mistake occurs because inconsistency is irrelevant to the truth value of a claim. One can be inconsistent while being factually correct. The whataboutism is a special case of this. It occurs when someone uses the fact that someone else did something awful as an excuse to get off the hook or alleviate themselves from moral responsibility. The most famous case of a whataboutism is found in old Soviet propaganda. During the Cold War, Soviet media would respond to charges of human rights violations from the United States by retorting, "And you are hanging blacks." This retort is meant to exonerate the Soviet state of its gulags, black bagging, and secret police by pointing out that the USA is guilty of vile, racist terrorism against black Americans. The problem with this retort, however, is that the moral failings of the United States in no way make it okay for the Soviet Union to do what it was doing. The United States were being hypocritical, yes, but this in no way undermined the factual correctness of their assertion. Unlike many of the other fallacies that we'll be encountering in this series, the whataboutism almost exclusively occurs in arguments about politics. So next time you see a report on television, cable news, or you see two people flaming each other on Facebook or Twitter about some policy and who's guilty of what, see if they make the retort, "Yeah, well, what about X?" If they are, this might be a whataboutism. And that concludes this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to this channel, and feel free to share this on social media. If you're feeling particularly generous, please also consider donating to my Patreon below. And with that said, thanks for listening and stay skeptical.